Today we're going to be joined by Servant Nature, Alexandro. Yeah, hope everyone's having a great day and a great week. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Hope you can hear me.
Yeah, Attack, we can hear you. Hello, Attack.
Oh, hi Sid. Thanks.
Hello everyone. Nice to be here.
Hi Kennedy. How are you? Can you hear me?
Hi, Attack. Happy to be here. And hi, everyone.
Hello Alexandro. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. Thanks. I've been planning maybe a visit soon to Kenya, so that's been exciting. Still talking also to Kennedy about the logistics. But it would be very cool to visit there, and it's cool to see that there are things moving on the Refi Kenya side, and I mean it's very early. It's just sprouting, but it's cool to see that the Refi movement is, I know in South America it's already happening, but it's now landing in the global south. And in South Africa was already, I think there was a hub in Cape Town, but now it's landing in Nairobi. And the fact that we have as SNI a hackathon soon to be published based on Kenya, I think it's such a good timing for us. So I'm super excited. I guess, I don't know, Kennedy, how do you want to kick this conversation off? I see our friend Yannick is here as well, which is super.
Thanks, Alessandro. And I totally agree. I'm super stoked for Refi Kenya. I think, as you're saying, we are getting to that point where basically Refi is starting to become a thing in the global south. And yeah, we're excited to lead that way, especially here with the Refi Spring event. We are looking forward to getting your help in setting that up, and of course also to the hackathon. I think it would be great to just also have the other guys introduce themselves. I think we might be having several people in the call, and it isn't very clear who everyone is. So maybe I'll start by introducing myself, and some of the other guys who are speaking can also introduce themselves so that we can know who's in the house. So my name is Kennedy. Yeah, my name is Kennedy. I'm the founder of Shamba. I lead a team of very motivated people who are trying to provide the data that is required to build sustainable solutions. So we are building some core infrastructure for Web3 in the form of an ecological data oracle. And we are also building a solution to drive financial inclusion for farmers. So happy to be on this call, and looking forward to discussing.
Cool. Hello everyone, I'm Alessandro. I'm the head of partnerships at Nature Initiative. One of the things that I do that very much connects with the title of this call is we run hackathons and programs whereby we bring tech teams, tech labs like Shamba and others that are talented and working in the Web3 space close to projects, conservancies, NGOs that do work on the ground to conserve and restore natural wild places. And I'm part of a team of now 14. We grew very much in the past few months. And I'm very, very happy to be here and to be connecting with teams like the Kennedy's team at Shamba. I'll pass it on to Atak, I think. If you want to introduce
Yeah, for me, I'm the community leader at Shamba. So pretty much like helping out with social media and things like that, and community engagement. So yeah, that's for me. Sam is there, and also as well Said as well.
Wanjoy, maybe you want to introduce yourself.
Oh, hi everyone. This is Sam Njohi. I work for Shamba as developer advocate.
Cool, thanks. So I guess Kennedy, I'll just take the first lead here and sort of tell what I've experienced in the past year, basically running this hackathons. Refi and a year ago, let's say, we ran the first hackathon. I think exactly 1 year ago. And refi was not a thing at that time. One of our teams came up with NFTs was a thing. So one of the teams came up with the idea of an NFT for kind of the first time. And, we were exploring, let's say, at the beginning of this new movement that now is called, regenerative finance. And it comes... we call it Web3 for nature, to include a bit more than just the financial side of things, but also helping conservancies with other type of capacity building. So yeah, what I've experienced is that, which was strange and new in some way to me. I was looking for a long time. I was working before in the also in the blockchain space, but as a strategic and legal advisor. So, I was always in the midst of negotiating deals and collaboration deals and intellectual property exchanges and so on. And of course, there was always this fear of collaborating because at the end of the day, the interest of the parties was always to, make money out of it. There was rarely a shared purpose between two parties or multiple parties to collaborate. When I then started to be part of this new space where people were building not only, I would say, for their own interest and to prove something, but also to or to just for profit reasons, but they also started to work for the purpose of contributing to nature, or at least challenging the capacity of technology to be in service to nature, then all of a sudden it was much easier to collaborate. We had teams, that merged during hackathons, which I never seen. Like, they literally decided to give up their names and come up with a new name. So, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing that I haven't seen before in my own experience. So I think this is great, and it gives me hope that collaboration in this Web3 space, if that goes towards building for conservation, it's very, very exciting. And what I'm curious to hear, Kennedy, what's your experience also in this space, and what have you experienced?
Yeah, so thanks, Alessandro. Myself, I've been in the space for a while. I think I got into crypto back in 2017, when there was a lot of hype, when we had a lot of ICOs, we had a lot of projects popping up. Everybody was coming up with a coin. I think during that time is when I learned about Web3. And I think the nature of Web3 has sort of also evolved over time, because when I think of the kind of hype and everything that there was back then, and the kind of mission-based projects that we are seeing right now, I think things have gone quite a long way. One of the best things that I like in the Web3 space right now, especially with the NAS and TreFi movement, is this element of collaboration, this element of community. That, at the end of the day, community is the central pillar where we should begin from. When I think of DAOs and how many different missions and ventures have been enabled because of DAOs, it occurs to me that community and bringing people together who share a common vision, a common mission, that is the essence of Web3. It allows people who have, people who are driven to achieve the same things, to find each other and to be able to organize themselves and to be able to actually, go out and build those solutions that are required. So for me, collaboration, I feel like it is baked into the DNA of Web3. There is no Web3 without collaboration, because when you think about it, the very fact that, we need that we are building these things on a blockchain, and in order for a blockchain to be immutable, it needs to be decentralized. It means that at the core of Web3, at the DNA of Web3, is the element of bringing people together and having collaboration. And so I think it's a very natural thing for ReFi to go along the same ethos. When I think of the ReFi space, especially having been here for maybe like 2 years now, since starting to work on this ecological stuff, I can say the space has really grown. The number of actors in it has definitely increased, but the ethos remains the same. The kind of community approach that we saw is still there. We are seeing a lot of things even moving towards that whole area, because when you think of MRV, the kind of work that we at Shamba are working on, the measurement, reporting, and verification. Um, Initially, when we got into it, it used to be DMRV, where D stood for digital. So digital, measurement, reporting, and verification. But the other day, I had a really great quote from Thomas Price of Avano, who's actually here today, and he said that the D for in DMRV is also decentralized. It isn't just digital, but it's actually decentralized. So decentralized MRV. And if you think about it in that way, it then occurs to you that in order for Web3 to be, strong, to be resilient, to be all of what we need it to be, collaboration will always lie at the heart of it all. And I'm happy that right now we started exploring this partnership between SNI and Shamba. We are really looking forward to seeing what we can do with SNI, especially in that area of hackathons. Being able to provide the kind of data that would be able to help, hackathon participants build solutions that are very impactful. It's all very exciting for us, and we are looking forward to seeing how we can drive this further. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is again like what happened between us. An example of how easy and incredible the opportunities to collaborate is. I told you what we were doing, and you were like, "Yeah, let's do it." I'm more than happy to help them out. You understood the problem, like you understood the purpose of what we were trying to do, and you came up with, "This is how I can contribute." And I've in a traditional collaboration space, like it would have taken like months of talks before this would happen, and somehow there was like already the ground in the conversation to just be like, yeah, let's go for it. The community is somehow already been built, I mean, we have here Yannick, who is a hackathon participant for like 3 times, and he won once. And I mean, he's been involved for so long, and he embodies the collaborative qualities of this new space. So Yannick, I'm curious to hear if you have anything to share in terms of like your experience in collaborating in this space, and things that don't work. I mean, I've always said collaboration is the hardest thing to do, and it still is, even if we all agree about the purpose. It's just the coordination is very hard. So I'm wondering, Yannick, if you have anything you want to share with us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me to speak. Yes, indeed, collaboration is hard. And back when I first got in touch with the first co-sponsored hackathon project by the SNI on the Odyssey Momentum hackathon, I think 2 years ago, there was a very good slogan that they used back then, which said "out collaborate the status quo." And I think true disruption to the current uh, ways of doing things and true ways to make refi a thing is by collaboration. But from experience, and I'm give a little background on how we did that in the most recent hackathon that was hosted by SNI. We sort of had this big chunk of people trying to hack on something, and out of that group, a smaller group was selected. Alessandro coined that term, the germinators for it. And this smaller group then tried to find collaboration, closer collaboration, because it consisted of the most motivated or most highly motivated people within the whole hackathon teams. And yet, I mean, we did do something. We also held public presentations. We had an event that took place in the Meet Realm in Amsterdam. And yet I feel like it breaks apart again. It is so hard to keep long-term interest into these projects, and I've suffered of that problem for the last, for the past 3 years or so. And I think what is really important to find meaningful collaboration is to have a very common or a very good understanding of the goals, of the common goals that you're after, the common motivations that are behind those goals, and the common reasons why you want to achieve those goals. And then maybe this might sound very un-Web3-ish or very old school, but there has to be management, and there has to be time management, and things like weekly or bi-weekly calls where you keep your goals aligned. And then I think if you check all these boxes, if you tick them all, you can actually achieve things through collaboration, and maybe abandon the going back to what I said in the very beginning, abandon the old ways, the status quo, and abandon the idea of competitiveness, and embrace the spirit of collaborativeness, togetherness, in that sense. I know you love that word, Ale. That's why I mentioned it. Does that make sense?
No, totally. And I think there is something that came up now, which is it seems that in this space we oftentimes just throw the ball to each other in terms of like project management, because it's something that no one wants to do. So we can do strategy, we can do building, but no one wants to do the project management side of things. And especially if you're working with a multi-party sort of multi-stakeholders project, like what you mentioned, Yannick. Aside from the vision, which I totally agree, let's say even if that would have been the case, we needed a proper project manager, which was supposed to be maybe me, but it's hard when you're dealing with many teams, so having a framework to work in collaboration, I think there is so much space for innovation just for that. It's just not technical, it's literally like how to collaborate type of thing. So I don't know if you Kennedy have or anyone who's a speaker has any best practices to share on how to do that at a scale,
Yeah, totally. Thanks, Alessandro. I think what Yannick has mentioned is really pertinent. That for collaboration to be effective, it needs to be structured. It needs to be well managed. There needs to be a plan. What goals are being targeted, and what the steps are to get there. I especially agree with the sentiment of having regular check-ins. I think when it comes to partnership, that being able to get on a call and discuss things either weekly or bi-weekly, as you're saying, that is what maintains alignment, and that is actually what even maintains interest. Otherwise, a partnership where people are not communicating regularly tends to fade away, and a lot of the times, the deliverables tend to not be achieved, or rather, they get also very stretched out in time. So I think when it comes to partnership, in my experience, communication is key. Making deliberate time to meet, and having probably that as a regular meeting, something that is saved in the calendar, and you know that every week at a particular time you're going to meet with this partner, you're going to discuss that. That helps a lot. Of course, having an agenda and coming up with milestones that you are tracking is also something that is very useful. A methodology that I've come to like, it was introduced to us as we're in the Outlier Ventures Accelerator, and we've come to really love it, and we're using it a lot at Shamba, is the OKR framework, the objectives and key results. So I think at the start of a partnership, or any collaboration, you need to sit down, you need to ask yourselves, what are the key objectives, what are the key results, what are the initiatives that get us there, and then this is something that you need to revisit regularly and to track so that you can see where you're going. I think with that one, you're going to be able to achieve whatever goals that collaboration had set out to. And this is something that I think, even as we are planning some of the activities which we are planning for Q4 of 2022, we should probably now start laying out and getting started. Of course, there are some things that need to come before that. It's always great when you're doing partnerships to, first of all, officiate those partnerships, having an MOU or some other document that shows and captures the spirit of the two projects that want to work together. That is always good. But at the end of the day, having that OKR is what is going to help the collaboration to achieve its results. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, perfect. Let's do that, Kennedy. Let's practice that, the two of us. For the hackathon project, I think that would be extremely helpful. Yannick, I saw your hand up. You wanted to share something?
Yes, I had a different thought. It was less on the organizational thing than on the technical end. I'm preparing myself for ETH Barcelona, and I've been looking through many projects for that, trying to figure out whom I want to talk to around the topic of refi. What I realize again and again, and have realized over the past few years often, is that in the Web3 space, I see so many projects working on isolated, atomized, siloed projects. And there are so many great things being built out there already. But what I really miss is people taking those building blocks, those Lego blocks that are already existing out there, and stacking them on top of each other to create, emergence. And this is something that I also witness in hackathons with the teams after the hacks. I sort of miss the spirit of, trying to come together, look what has been built or what has been thought about during the hackathon, and then come up with something that stacks these things on top. There is a reason why we call it tech stack. You stack things on top of each other, and then you create something that is greater than, the sum of those individual elements. And I think, having people thinking purely about that meta layer of how we could add different parts that are created into one bigger thing would be a really helpful addition to hackathons, to working teams, to, companies that specialize on gathering and making accessible data, such as Shamba, just to have someone, stand on the hill and look onto things from the top, and think about the meta level of how to add these things into something meaningful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was the struggle that we had always with the hackathon when we delivered the solutions to the parties, and then there was, we would assume that teams would just collaborate afterwards, but I mean, the elephant in the room is funding as well. Like, I believe there is a lot of opportunity for collaboration in terms of, like, I was surprised, to be honest, and maybe I didn't do much research to see that there were not like combined proposals during the recent Gitcoin crowdfunding type thing. Or I think we should join forces when it comes to raising funds. We as SNI, we will be playing a lot with the treasuries that the Dotsama ecosystem provides for teams and labs around the world to raise funds and access those funds. We want to try to do that collaboratively. So having a project being the subject of the proposal and then multiple teams applying together, I think that could actually bring a lot of innovation. And I mean, the fuel, that's all. But then it's not just the fuel for a single team, but it's something that is the whole, and then maybe the parts will be able to collaborate better when there is clear funding and a project that goes with it. So yeah, I'm super happy to explore that with you, Kennedy, as we have already touched on by email.
Yeah, Alessandro, I completely agree that funding is one of the biggest obstacles that we are seeing to the proliferation of collaboration. I think when you have a scenario whereby resources are limited, as indeed they are going to be as we are moving deeper into the bear market, it calls for collaborative fundraising efforts as well. This is the time for people to come together to figure out how they can put together joint proposals. As you're saying, there are so many treasuries out there and so many projects that are willing to to support some nice proposals. So I think bringing together different people to work on a common project and a common proposal and getting funding for that even increases the quality of what comes out. One of the things that I think I noticed is happening within the digital MRV space is there's this collective of different MRV projects that have come together under the banner of a project called D-Meter, and Shamba is one of them. And so it's bringing together, different MRV projects, others doing IoT, others doing remote sensing with satellites, others having boots on the ground. So different types of projects, all of them contributing something unique in one way or another and bringing it to the table. And then putting all of these people together and, putting them under one banner and then seeking funding for that. I think this is something that maybe Thomas might be able to give more information on. But I do believe that the approach of seeking funding as a joint project as a joint proposal between different projects is something that is actually already happening. And I think that will be a big way for us to go as an industry moving forward into the future, not just within this bear market, but even beyond that. Yeah, and as you're saying, Alessandro, we are very excited on our end as well to collaborate with you guys. Let us see what we can be able to do together in terms of the proposals. I think Gitcoin is over the last round, but then the next one will be coming up soon enough. So it's all a matter of putting together, a strong consortium of people who are aligned in terms of the vision and the mission, and coming up with a strong proposal that will appeal to the different treasuries. Yeah.
Yeah, Thomas is hand up, please.
Hey. So I'm not familiar with like this hackathon concept that you all are talking about and would like to learn more.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can share. I mean, the what we will be doing in Kenya. So it's not public yet, but basically how we work with Nature Initiative with the hackathons, we partner up with, we call it broadly a nature steward. This time is an NGO that works on the conservation of predators in Kenya. And we ask them what are their biggest challenges in what they do from the mandate. And then we draft a call and invite teams in the Web3 space to tackle those problems that the manager of that land is facing. So this is the concept of the hackathon. This year we run a longer version of it. Usually in the past we did the classic 3 days hackathon kind of thing, like with time constraints, and which was preceded by a period where the teams would really get to know the problem through workshops, calls, AMA sessions. Oh, we've got one of the past participants here. Hi, Robin. So this is the hackathon concept, and this year we might do it 1 month long, keeping still the 3 days at the end, sort of sprint as a time where teams and jury members and advisors all come together to collaborate. The time constraint is still one of the beauties of the hackathon, so we don't want to lose that. But they will try to add this like empathic sort of period beforehand to be a bit more structured, so that teams would learn more, connect more with the data, connect more with the people and all the stakeholders involved within those challenges. So this is the plan. I hope I answered your question. It's Thomas, right? Your name?
Yeah, Thomas or TR.
Hi. Nice meeting you, man.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well.
So what do you do, Thomas? What are you working on?
So I'm currently getting a PhD in environmental economics, but I'm the founder of Avano, and Avano has really branched out into 2 different parts that we work on, and one is around decentralized monitoring, reporting, and verification of regenerative actions, and how we're going to incentivize cross-organizational collaboration in terms of that. And then the other is around art and the environment, and being able to really push forward these movements together and embracing Web3, and how that can really fast track what they're trying to get done in their movements and create a greater scalable impact in that way. Yeah, so that's a little bit about me. And I'm just curious with what you just said there. How does the DMRV space play into that?
Maybe if I could answer that. Basically, I think a good way to answer that question is to explain that when we are talking about the hackathons that SNI are working on, and they're actually putting together, they're aiming to drive certain, certain objectives. They want the people who are participating to be able to build solutions that target specific problems. In this case, I think in the upcoming Kenyan hackathon, it will be the subject will be addressing the human-wildlife conflict, specifically with those big predators. And I think this is pertinent, especially considering that a time like right now, in the Serengeti area along the Kenya-Tanzania border, you're seeing a lot of issues between protected, conserved places and the local communities that live within them. There's been a lot of stuff going on there. Human-wildlife conflict is becoming a bigger thing, and so as Shamba, we are coming in through the side of providing the data that is going to be supporting this hackathon. So when we are talking about people who are going to be building solutions for that particular area that are targeting that particular problem, so figuring out what data sets will be useful to them, figuring out who are the custodians of these data sets, how do we make them available in a way that can be used within Web3 and to build Web3 solutions. So putting together that whole matrix around the data that will be required either for the measurement, reporting, or verification for these solutions that are going to be built. That is how Shamba is coming in as a partner to this hackathon. And it's actually quite interesting because we had been thinking of holding a hackathon ourselves, actually in this month of July. But now when we were speaking with different people and we ended up meeting with SNI and we saw the strong synergies, we realized that partnering up and doing a hackathon with them will be able to help us get more impact than if we did it alone. So I think this is one of the biggest things again with collaboration. You have that impact multiply effect. And I think as we are speaking about MRV, it also makes sense that potentially in future we could think about other MRV players. For instance, guys like Athena Protocol, who work with Internet of Things and other on-ground sensors. How can that come into play? How can guys like Ogo, who have boots on the ground and do that kind of verification, how can they come into play? It will be interesting to have more projects that are involved in MRV also coming in to bring in dimensions that perhaps we as Shamba are not specifically looking at. Yeah.
Yeah, that really got me excited there, is like hearing about what is going on and the potential for this hackathon. And with what we're right now in the beginning stages of, in this cross-organizational collaboration of organizations, like being able to do a hackathon in a similar concept for just seeing what people can come up with in terms of the data that's being supplied and what innovative uses there are for that. I think that's going to be really cool to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that are exciting about the MRV to me is like the all citizen science. I mean, some call it citizen sensing type of applications, whereby you ask individual citizens for the Kenya type of thing, can be tourists that drive around on a safari vehicle and take pictures, right? I mean, those images, instead of only being posted on Twitter, on Instagram, and so on, can also become very useful if managed in the right way for the conservation of lions. Like right now, these NGOs spend so much resources, so much time going around taking pictures, sorting out data. It's basically like most of the things that they do. And I think by linking the tourist, the unprofessional type of person that is still like a sensing thing, you don't need fancy stuff. You only need a phone these days to take, pictures that are valuable, to be able to connect to the scientific research or the conservation research. I think it's extremely exciting, and also it can bring people closer, which is one of course, the principles of purposes of SNI, is to bring people closer to nature and get them to learn about it. So the whole eco-literacy part. So, for instance, by taking a picture of a lion, you can understand what type of role, for instance, it plays in the ecosystem and why it's important. It's not just only because it's beautiful, but because it stands on top of the whole food chain, right? So losing a lion will mean a lot to an entire ecosystem all the way down. So this is what we're very excited about. We've already started to discuss that. And we have Robin here from Data Union that, for instance, works with the Ocean Protocol tech, and trying to see how data can become also looking at the data economy now. People can benefit from the data they contribute, if it's like for scientific research, for instance. So I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, Robin, if you're doing something else, but they're doing some great work, so please follow them. They've been also part of one of our hackathon, and hopefully will be participating in the next one as well, as participant or as a collaborator. Yeah. So Kennedy.
Yeah, I think what you've just said makes a lot of sense, Alessandro, because when it comes to having impact, involving the communities where this impact is going to happen is actually very key to making it sustainable. So I think when we are thinking of that kind of centric science, citizen-centric, or rather citizen-driven conservation, data plays a big role in that, right? Because then there's so much data that can be collected by the communities themselves. And I feel like with the right data, impact can fall on both sides of the paradigm, such that there's the impact that goes towards the environment, like what are we doing to prevent this human wildlife conflict, safeguard the habitats of these big predators, these big cats, and all of that. And then there's also the impact that goes to the communities that are stewards of those areas. So when you're thinking of like these national parks and or maybe the national reserves, and there are some communities that live there and coexist with those animals. So understanding the kind of way of life that they are going through, and how climate change and other challenges are affecting them, understanding how maybe loss of grasslands due to changing climate is forcing them to venture into territories that are controlled by the predators, and being able to actually come up with safety nets based on this data, safety nets that safeguard these communities, that actually provide those communities with alternatives in the case of certain risks occurring, such as drought and delayed rains. I think data allows us to be able to capture impact on both sides. So when we are looking at something like the hackathon, I'm pretty excited to see what people will come up with, both from the side of conserving the environment and the natural resources, and of course wildlife are a big part of that, and also on the side of being able to empower these communities that live alongside those animals, take care of them, and are custodians of that land. So it's pretty exciting to see how this space is starting to evolve. And I think if we can come up with, a wide range of applications and possibilities that people can look at, potentially looking at even how paradigms that have been opened up by Web3, like DeFi, when you're thinking about new accessibility channels to finance, how can some of these benefits be brought down to local communities and be able to potentially give them alternatives that eventually reduce that kind of conflict between human and wildlife. So I think for me, data remains a key and core area for being able to achieve this impact. And of course, we are very excited to have started this partnership with SNI, and even as we are working towards this next hackathon, we should be thinking of the future and what other data partners we want to bring in, what other kind of impact we want to target. Because I feel like we need to think about the impact before actually thinking about the data, because we need to decide what we want to do and what do we need to get there in order to get it ready and put it together for those people who are going to be building. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So one of the things that excites me the most the first time we talked, Kennedy, was the complexity that you brought by mentioning, for instance, that how important it is to bring on data about desertification, because that will give you insights on where farmers will be moving, right? And how basically, I mean, as far as I understand the problem, most of it and why the conflict is increasing is not only for a population growth, but also is because basically, like, there are not many places where cattle can graze anymore. So they go closer to the protected areas of, in this case, the Masai Mara, increasing the conflict. So having a view of what will be in the next 10 years, the scenario on desertification, in places adjacent to the Masai Mara National Park, will get policymakers, conservation organizations to have a better picture of what they should be doing right now. Instead of just looking at the, let's say, the more simple, but the more like short-term type of problems, right? So I really loved that, and the fact that you are bringing in that knowledge, it's extremely valuable for us.
Yeah, thanks. I think, when we are talking about climate change, I think it affects, so many things. It affects communities. It affects even the wildlife itself that is living in those areas. For instance, I think about maybe 3-4 months back, we had some stories in the news of certain. I think it was a family of hyenas that had left, where they used to stay in the national parks, and they'd actually come out of the park and moved into residential areas because uh, as much as people are going with their cattle far and far into the bush to look for vegetation, animals themselves are also looking for something to eat. So they're finding themselves more and more in areas which are settled by people. So being able to understand, even complex things like how climate change and how changing weather regimes are affecting the migratory patterns of herds and how this is affecting predators, it all ties into the bigger picture of what is happening and will potentially help us come up with more thorough solutions to the problems that are being faced. But generally, as we're saying, this is a very exciting space. I think we are just at the beginning of what is going to be a wonderful movement. Regenerative finance, in my eyes, is something that is going to come and reinvent the way most of the world works, especially the financial systems, and especially when it comes to things like conservation and climate action. And I think this kind of collaboration that we are seeing right now is going to set the model for what future parties will be doing when they're trying to address big problems. So this is really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in the refi space, there's a lot of talk about mitigation, but it also brings yeah, a thought came to mind in terms of like how do we adapt, right? Like you I think alluded to it earlier when you said, for instance, when you work with farmers need to adapt to a changing climate, and to do that they need some sort of like economic model, like they need access to new financial ways to compensate for losses or less revenues coming in and so on. So the adaptation side of things I think should also be more on the refi agenda rather than the just like mitigating or sustaining what we're doing. Like the more like positive, let's say, or yeah, I think you know what I mean when I talk about adaptation. I guess like it's literally like adapting to the state of what it is now, right? And
Yeah.
and offering solutions to that.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying, and I think at the end of the day, adaptation is definitely one of those things that is going to become pertinent when we are speaking about climate change. I think we are slowly getting to a point, and I hate to say it, but we are slowly getting to a point where preventing this 2 degree or something rise is going to become pretty much impossible. When I see that in Europe, people have gone back to using, coal-powered energy, providers and all of that, I think we are still going to see a lot of emissions. We are probably going to see, the changing climate is going to continue being a phenomenon. And so adaptation then becomes one of the key things that we now need to start moving towards. Mitigation is still a very big deal, but adaptation is going to become more and more important as these problems grow. And I just noticed, Attack, you had raised your hand, so let me pass the mic over to you.
Yeah, I was quickly going to ask, in terms of forming partnerships and collaboration, is it harder or easier during the current market, or before? Yeah, in terms of when the crypto and was at a bull market. So that's my question.
Alessandro, you wanna go first on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a final answer. Let's say there's more enthusiasm when it's not a bull market. So like yeah, people are just more funds if you're talking about crowdfunding or asking help to bootstrap your project and so on. It's much easier to do it when when people have more value in their pockets. When it comes to accessing treasuries, treasuries don't really know. They might get stricter, but we haven't experienced that so far. Like treasuries are always available, even though the pot shrinks with the value decreasing. They don't look at that so much, so that hasn't really changed. I think I almost see the bear market as a positive thing. It's really like a period of, and I've experienced it before in the past. It's really a period where actually the work is mostly done. There's no distraction. There's no hype and stuff like that. It's really about creating creating tech. So these are my 2 cents on this. If it makes any sense, what have you experienced, Kennedy? Because you said that you were also involved, sort of like in the ICO, maybe hype and then like down. And what have you experienced from that?
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right that some market conditions do slow the progression of different activities. For instance, I think when the market was upbeat and everybody was investing in this coin and that project and that other token, there were a lot of collaborations, a lot of new things happening. Of course, a lot of that slows down as resources become scarce, and I think that is normal. But I do think that in this period when we are going through the bear market is when we are actually going to see people pulling together even more. So I think just as you said earlier on with the idea for projects coming together to work on joint proposals and then approaching treasuries with that. I think the bear market offers, a good opportunity for closely aligned projects to find each other, to find the common element that they both believe in, and to be able to work together and find a collaboration that works for them. This might be something that maybe in a bull market where there was a ton of capital flowing around, such partnerships might not have been very necessary because people had various other resources to tap into. But as we are in this bear market, I think these kind of partnerships will become more of the norm. So I think, in my opinion, things have slowed down a little bit, but they are going to pick up again as more and more projects come together in order to be able to get the resources they need to continue doing the work they do. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, yeah, I share the same feeling. Well, Yannick, I know, has been through that as well. What do you think? Have you seen it? The space slowing down or actually improving?
Well, generally speaking, I think the hype phases, the bubble phases that we saw between 17 and 19, and maybe witnessing the same thing in a shorter cycle with DeFi and now with the NFT hype, I always felt like market downturn moments were actually the build times where things actually happen. And to me, this might sound a bit absurd, but I sort of welcome these crypto winters always because I see the good things happening then. And I think for refi in general, it's good momentum because the focus is away from turning a quick buck and more on doing something that has real impact for a longer term.
Yeah, indeed. Like I think as a project, you work harder to convince others that it's that your project has value and is meaningful and so on. So you have more constraints, let's say. and then if the market flourishes, then you're strong to be successful.
And also, if I may add, sorry,
go for it.
If I may add, these sort of constraints, in my perspective, foster creativity. Because if there is, in bull markets, when random DAOs are flooded with millions of USD value, usually the teams don't even know where to go with that money. And that's not a new phenomenon. We saw that in startups happening since the dot-com bubble. So you overfund the startup, you usually kill it, because the constraint makes people find creative solutions. And these constraints that we see now in the crypto bear market, quote unquote, probably also lead to more creativity and to more accountability in the end.
I don't know, Atak, where do you want us to go in the last few minutes left? I really enjoyed this conversation.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alexandro, and everyone here. It's going to be interesting discussion. I really don't have anything else, really. I think it's crypto is and the DeFi space, I think, are very interesting. I think the downtime is really the really good time to really build stuff. So when the next one come, all the foundation has been laid and everything is working smoothly. So, yeah.
Yeah, nice. I'm excited to see what else we can talk about in the coming weeks. Again, the hackathon will be published with all the details in the next 3 weeks or so, 2 to 3 weeks. So everyone will know what the challenges of this space are and what we're asking, and they will be able to submit their applications to participate. So that's a news that will come from the Sovereign Nature Initiative very, very soon. Very excited about it. And again, Shamba is going to be one of our partners, and I'm extremely happy, not only because you guys are in Nairobi, but because you're like leading. I think Region Network sort of mentioned you in a tweet recently, saying that you're doing great work. So I'm extremely grateful for somehow getting to meet you guys and getting to partner up with you. Super excited.
Yeah, thanks, Alessandro. And we're also very excited about this new partnership with SNI. I think this first hackathon will help us to figure out a nice, that good fit for how we can collaborate and do even bigger events in future. And as I was saying, we had been thinking of planning our own hackathon, but when we realized that being able to collaborate with you guys will allow us to have much bigger impact, then this became very attractive. And we are really looking forward to working with you guys. We are stoked about all the support we've been getting from the Web3 community, the Regen community, the ReFi community in general. And we are always happy to meet new members of the community, such as yourselves, and to establish collaboration and to see how we can multiply impact. So very excited and looking forward to seeing what we can do over that event. Yeah. Thanks for having me on the space, by the way.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining, and let's keep the conversation going.
Well, thanks so much, everyone. And we're going to end it since it's been an hour. Really, really awesome. Thanks for making the time to come and listen or contribute to all the speakers. So,
Thanks, Attack. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.